Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle. I've been known by a few names. So, as I'm traveling to go to pick up my two biggest pieces of my Medal of Honor art project from the state of Texas, driving and getting to Washington State to pick up those pieces, I had seen a sign, and so it's scuba diving, okay? There was this situation in which Patty of the International SCUBA at the time of, she was the owner at the time of International SCUBA, and she had asked me to assist with a teaching aspect in regards to a rescue scuba diving class. And so, in that aspect at Clear Springs Scuba Park, had to assist in getting the diver that was assigned to me to learn how to do a rescue for an extremely difficult individual. Patty had asked me to be extremely difficult, not just difficult, but like to a level that, she knew I could be. She knew I could be hungry and extremely difficult. Those who have known me over the years know that I can be a little bit stubborn at times, by a lot. And so, the aspects of which I had been instructed was to be yelling for help, but not allowing the individual to bring me in, because he had to learn, number one, humility. He had to learn humility, because apparently he was giving Patty a difficult time in the class. Number two, because not all rescue dives is the individual, compliant, very simplistically to put it. Number three, sometimes rescue dives are not necessarily quick. Sometimes they can take a bit of time. So with that combination, among a few other reasons, that Patty had asked me to be a very difficult diver that needed rescuing in that regard. Okay. So then she asked me to yell for help. And I looked at her and I was like, Patty, are you sure you really want me to yell? I mean, have you heard me speak? And she was like, yes. I said, okay. You do understand that I grew up in New Jersey and going to New York as well as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia as a child and a teenager. She goes, yeah. I go, do you understand what yelling means to someone that grows up in an area like that? And she looks at me, she goes, yes, I know you can be loud. And I'm like, yeah, I can be really loud. And so, are you sure you really want to tell me to yell? Like, yell. And she was like, yes, I want you to yell. I want you to be difficult. I want you to throw them around. I want you to do this, that, and the other. All right, Patty. I'll help you out, especially when it comes to, the fact that this guy is apparently being rude to you. Out of curiosity, why is he being rude? And there were certain aspects in regard to machismo sort of thing. So it's like, oh, okay. I got you. right. But are you sure you want me to yell? I mean, do you really, really, really want me to yell? And she's like, yes, I want you to yell. Yell for help. Yell for help. Okay. I mean, I think that is a little bit much, but okay. Okay. I can yell. I can. I know how to yell. So, you know, the assignments were given. I got introduced to the guy who was supposed to rescue me. He looked at me and he was just like, oh, you're going to be easy to get. Oh. Why do you think that I'm going to be easy to get? And the guy was like, well, you know, you're small. You're tiny. Oh. And then he said those words that most females understand where that level gets raised, where, well, you know, you're just a girl. Oh, so I'm just a girl, and I'm little, and you think that this is going to be easy just because I'm female? And he was like, yeah, you know, I mean, come on, you know, look how tiny you are. What do you weigh? And it's like, okay, now I know that there are females where we're like this on that. And I said, well, you know, I weigh, I think at that time I was like 110, 115. And I'm 5'4". And I said, but you don't understand that I can make myself, if I have to, feel a lot heavier than 100, 115, whatever. Like, I can make myself feel like you're trying to pick up a pallet of bricks with one hand. And, you know, like, in my thoughts, I didn't say that out loud. It's just one of those, you don't know what I could do, little boy. And so he, you know, continued doing things that made me understand why Patty had asked me to be extremely difficult. Oh, okay. I got you. So, you know, the different individuals who were supposed to go out in the water, so that way the rescue divers could go and get us, went out to where we were supposed to. And so I essentially went out, for those who know Clear Springs Scuba Park, I went out to just above the airplane to be ornery. Because it's those who know that area where the airplane is, know that you have to swim out to essentially the middle of Clear Springs Scuba Park in reference to when leaving the floating platform area. And there's a little bit of a current there for those who scuba dive in that vicinity, especially at the surface in comparison towards the bottom of Clear Springs Scuba Park. And so the guy, you know, gets told to get in the water and along with the other ones, and the people that were like me that were supposed to be, you know, help, you know, okay, go do our thing. And so give you a real quick so I go, help, and so you can just from that little bit guess how loud that was on top of water, because water assists sound to travel. And I do that for a bunch of like time. And I continue, the guy gets over to where I'm at, and I just throw him, and I'm like, help, you know, throw him again every time he tries to come near me, that sort of thing. You know, he tried because those who understand rescue dive, you know, you try to go under the water if it's a difficult rescue dive, and so then, you know, just it just moved. Just kind of swam around, and you know, I can swim a little fast. And so, you know, then he comes back up to the surface and he's trying, help, you know, and I just throw him. And so after a while, probably about 5-10 minutes of that, I hear like tires squealing and just dirt and gravel flying and all this sort of stuff. A truck engine just, and it's like, whoa, okay. And Patty calls out to everyone in the rescue dive, come in, let's like, this rescue dive is over. Come on. And so, swim back to the platform area to get back up. Look over at the guy who was assigned to me. Oh, I guess it wasn't so simple or easy, huh? And then I see Patty being yelled at, and I'm like, uh-oh, I have a feeling that has to do with me. So I take off my fins, and I run up. I don't take my PCD off. I run up the stairs, and I'm like, hey. And so this really tall guy, he's like probably about 6'3" maybe, and he's yelling at Patty, and I get in front of Patty and talk, I think his name was Tom. And I'm like, hi! It was a rescue dive and training and stuff, and so this is the situation, explain the whole thing. And so from then on, anytime doing training for rescue diver stuff at Clear Springs, from that point, you have to use call for pizza, because apparently there were a few 911 phone calls, and there's apparently a gun range nearby. And apparently there were a few hi, that would be me. Guess that's figured out by now. And so the sign that I saw was a Pizza Hut sign. And so while there might not have necessarily been individuals involved in a larger aspect in regards to scuba diving in the BDSM lifestyle, specifically in Dallas, Texas, the irony is Phillip Omstead, or Darko, or Donnie Darko, or whatever it was on FetLife in 2010, was a manager at Pizza Hut. And later, I tried telling people that, okay, I don't have any STDs at that point, or, well, now, but nonetheless, in that regard, he came down with herpes after cheating. And so I tried warning people, and people told me that I was being a jealous ex. And I was like, no, that's not it. I'm trying to let you know so that way you can keep yourself safe and protected. So that way you don't have to worry about that. If you choose to do certain things, of course, that is your choice. You are an adult, you can make your own decisions, so on and so forth. However, you should at least be aware. I don't know if he's told you or not, because there was a house in Denton who would throw parties. It was actually the same place where a particular female and her girlfriend had her birthday party in Denton. And so the owner of the house of that location, I had told her, since I had seen that she was getting involved with Phillip Omstead, hey, I just want to give you a heads up on this, because I think it's kind of important. And, I understand in that regard, she probably thought that I was just trying to stir the pot. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm literally trying to give you a warning, not because of being difficult, not at all. Like, trying to prevent difficulties for you and your household. And so the irony is that particular individual worked at Pizza Hut and was a manager there. And the scuba diving correlation in regards to calling for help getting changed to call for pizza. Now, if I am inaccurate, and Phillip Omstead did actually tell people did give that warning, then my mistake. However, that particular female with her household said that they didn't have any worries on that at all. They weren't told about it. That wasn't an issue. And so it was one of those, okay. Later, I had realized, which, I had contacted a female, and I was like, hey, I found this out, and I know that you had been with him. Again, not trying to start problems, just one of those, hey, I want to give you this heads up on that. And this was before he wound up leaving Cedar Park, the house in Cedar Park, where I was like, hey, I want to give you this heads up, because I had to drive him back to Dallas to get rid of him. And so essentially it was one of those, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, well, I think it's kind of a big deal because, he actually was with you in comparison to me. Like, we didn't go there. He couldn't get it up or anything like that. I was like, okay, well, apparently it is what it is in that regard. And so the same guy that I had to take into the shower because I spanked him, and then, he started crying, and then was upset because I care more about my son and my daughter than I do him at that time. Still, but nonetheless. And turn on the shower and that whole thing. And nonetheless, I just found it ironic in reference to the scuba diving, the emergency aspect, and then that. And then the fact that Phillip Omstead had worked for Chase Bank before working at Pizza Hut, and him trying to get me to be a professional dominatrix and not accepting no for an answer until it was, over in that regard. And then, that whole thing. However, a prior official YouTube video in reference to that. And so, on top of that, in regards to an event at Maitresse, Renee, and Jason's house, despite the aspects in regards to the views of, in regards to, again, I didn't have any problem with the profession. It's just not for me. No offense in that regard. Just one of those, gave ideas to keep herself safe and not step on turf toes sorts of things. And so, and warnings in that regard. And there was a point in time at one event at Maitresse, Renee's, and Jason's house where I was outside smoking something, I had this weird feeling. I went inside and I saw Phillip Omstead on his phone. And it was shortly after him wanting to do a power couple thing, and that had to be explained, and no. And so he was on his phone and he was laughing. And he had said he was a professional gamer. And so, which I didn't know that was a thing at the time. Nonetheless, it was one of those, don't you, and one of the other things that he would do as far as not just professional gaming, but he would get accounts really high up in score, and then he would sell the accounts so that way other people could have whatever as far as that was concerned in regards to the Halo game in specific. And he would talk to some guy that was in the Air Force, or at least said that he was in the Air Force, if I'm not mistaken, and discussed certain aspects about me in that regard. Nonetheless, at the event that was at Maitresse, Renee, and Jason's house, I walked inside because I had a really weird feeling. Phillip Omstead was on his cell phone, and he was laughing, and I asked him, what are you laughing at? What's so funny? And he was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And I was like, what's going to be awesome? What is about to be awesome? And he looked at me and he was like, you're just going to have to wait because it's going to be so funny. And I got this weird feeling where I was like, I don't like the way you're saying that. And then there was a banging at the front door. And And I watched Jason go into the master bedroom, and I saw Renee step outside, and I was like, and Phillip Omstead was laughing hysterically. He's like, this is even better than thought. I was like, what did you do? And he looked at me, he's like, oh, come on, have a sense of humor. I was like, I do have a sense of humor. I do not see a sense of humor for this particular situation at all whatsoever. I don't like the feeling I'm getting at all. And then shortly after, Maitresse Renee ran inside and then shut the door and went into the master bedroom, and a bunch of the ClubFEM females went over to the door, and I was like, just gonna, depending what you believe, of course, it's just one of those, I'm gonna just, look, there's something else for you to pay attention to. Go over there, sort of thing. Like, look, there's something shiny. And, you know, they wound up going and speaking with other people. Went outside, had a cigarette or two. And I was okay. We go inside. Went and knocked on the door. And, you know, it was silent for a little bit. And I said, hey, it's Lady Dori Belle. If you guys want me to leave you alone and keep people away from the door, I will. If you guys want me to whatever, like, just you let me know what you guys need. And I was allowed in, and essentially I found out that Maitresse Renee's mom had shown up and found out and basically was told about things. Now, at that point, it is my mistake for not thinking about that aspect of what Phillip Omstead was laughing at, because that's probably most likely, hypothetically, the head injury issue with the cognitive crap, since I had that head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. Nonetheless, in that regard, it was one of those, you know, my main focus was essentially not that part. It was more along the lines of what did they need at the time to be able to do what they needed to do. And so again, the irony, and while yes, I do apologize, because obviously it's 2020, it's the 8th of June in 2020, this particular situation happened at some point in 2010. And I have those cognitive issues that I don't deny at all. However, when I was speaking with Sam, who I've done a bunch of modeling for, there was a point when I got back to the state of Texas and had modeled a couple times in 2020, where he had said that there was a guy who is infamous for essentially trying to get known female dominants to be submissives and switch. And so thinking about that, you know, now, it's one of those, if that has to do with that, and then the irony of the pizza aspect, and in scuba diving, which is not the exact same, obviously, as BDSM, however, certain aspects of similarities, I was not doing anything to stir up drama. I had been dealing with enough of my own stuff as far as just being a mom and doing what was needed for my daughter as well as my son. And, you know, again, my mistake for not putting that together in that regard. And the irony of passing a street sign for Dallas, obviously not knowing the aspects in reference to the techie stuff Because, again, my biological mother was the one who did the updates. And when she wasn't around to do the updates on the computers, because I couldn't figure that stuff out, the first individual who had done the computer stuff like that is my now dead ex-husband, of course. After that is in reference to Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., in between with my biological mother doing the updates, which she did do that when my now dead ex-husband was alive. And then also the aspects of Patrick Kennedy doing that, also known as Alpha Gen X. Irony, I'm passing Pizza Hut again in a different area of the state of Texas. And Phillip Omstead introduced me to Patrick Kennedy, which is its own irony in that regard. And then both of them in that reference of wanting the aspects of me to become a professional dominatrix, and no, that just isn't my particular thing, you know. And again, not in any offense towards professional dominatrix or any level of that, just, you know, just not my particular personality trait and stuff. I could be sadistic. I very much dominantly sadistic, no denying that. I just have that feeling thing where, you know, I can't not have that aspect. And so in that regard, and I'm not saying that all professional dominatrix, I don't have feelings, because of course they do. It's just I tend to have that feeling thing fairly quickly, and so knowing myself, just one of those, plus the other aspects. Nonetheless, getting back to the points of where the irony in that regard, and both Patrick Kennedy and Phillip Omstead had at one point in time worked at different banks. One working at Bank of America, which is Patrick Kennedy, and Phillip Omstead having worked at Chase Bank before working at Pizza Hut as a manager. And so if there are ways to correlate those particular aspects for those who have that stuff, I mean, obviously, like, I don't have that stuff, meaning like the different aspects of, for the fuller portion in that regard, just one of those, if that is needed in regard to any testimonial sort of way. I hope that does help, because I would guesstimate, at least in cell phone stuff, there would be a way to do that sort of stuff with techie. And so, again, the irony in regards to pizza, call for pizza in regards to an emergency situation, and then the problems thereof. And Phillip Omstead actually was there when I had gotten the phone call in reference to what happened to my daughter at the field trip for the Fort Worth Zoo during Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District, McCoy Elementary School's field trip, after all of the other stuff that had already been going on. And his words were, oh, we can sue the school. And it's like, what is this we? You are not my son or my daughter's biological father. You're realistically nobody. Like, not being a dick, just you're nobody to my children. And so, if that's of importance, I just think it's a weird winky dink after seeing that. So, I'm going to end this particular YouTube official broadcast, and hopefully that makes sense and assists if it's needed hypothetically and all that sort of stuff. So you guys have a good one, and comment and like and share and subscribe to my official YouTube channel. Have a good one.